Hello, and welcome back to another episode. Today, I want to talk about the shelves behind me. These guys have been here since I first moved into this office, almost 10 years ago now. And when I first started recording, the walls and the shelves were relatively bare. Looking back, it was a naked space that has been slowly populated over the years by things I found out and about, by its discoveries on Facebook Marketplace, and also by lots of knickknacks and presents from friends and family who just go, "Ooh, you'd like this, wouldn't you?" And they just appeared in my life and went on to the shelves. And eventually, the shelves were so heavily populated in a way that had lost any order, any sense of purpose or reason, that it was actually stressing me out. And at the end of last year, the beginning of this year, I thought I need to do something about those shelves. I made a note, sort the shelves, and I did. Last week, I started just to take things off the shelves, figure out what I wanted to keep and where I wanted it to go, and it's so much better. I suppose, in a nutshell, sometimes, well, less is more, but also letting go can enable you to hold on, actually. So I've emptied the bag of things to leave the house all over the floor, and the first one is this Deadpool figure. It's actually a little diorama showing him being flung through the air by an explosion, made by Q-Fig for Loot Crate. I think it was Overstock. It was being sold in B&M for £1 or £2 when I got it, and I think someone else will probably love it even more than I do. Hence, it's going away. Next, we have a Jack Skellington bobblehead figure, and I like Jack Skellington. I love him, in fact, but this guy, he's just slightly out of scale. His head's a bit too big, and I have better versions of Jack in the office already, so someone else surely will be able to give him a better home than he has here. This is a teddy that I was given upon graduating from university, but I've never really had a deep connection to him. I haven't given him a name, for example, which is unusual for me, and I'm sure that someone else will treasure a little memento of graduating just as much as I did, but no longer have to. So he's going to someone else's home, I think. Yeah. Next, we have another Q-Fig, though not for Loot Crate this time. This is Doctor Strange, as portrayed by Benedict Cumberbatch, and I like it. I like the sculpt, I like the characterization, the magic looks great, the cape is flowing, but I think someone else will appreciate it, possibly more than I do. So, off it goes. This guy is a bit weird. I found this donut figure in a charity shop for 50p or something like that, and it actually opens up with a bit of effort, bit of a BFI, brute force and ignorance. You can get into it, and inside there is, well, a sort of display space. There's a space that rotates with these little nubbins on, seemingly to maybe attach figures of some sort, and then these shelves as well. It feels almost like a Polly Pocket set, but I don't know, for donuts maybe. So I think he's kind of cool, but I don't need him, and someone else will probably love him more than I do right now. So off he goes. Next we have Ghost Rider, and this Ghost Rider isn't really one that I am particularly attached to. I like the look of him, the sort of beard or scarf of fire and the flames in the wind, but he feels as though he's from a comic book run or a cartoon series that I'm not familiar with. And while I thought he was cool when I first came across him, again in a charity shop, I think someone else may well find him even cooler than I do. Now we have a Ron Burgundy figure. and it's an odd one. His suit never really fitted him properly. He looks kind of raggedy in a funny sort of way. But I did find the rendering of Will Ferrell's face hilarious, and there was a time when I was a huge Ron Burgundy fan. I am, less obsessed with that movie now than I was, so I'm happy to give them away. Now we have Superman. This is actually a version of Superman from, I think, the 90s, and he's really cool. I like the sculpt of the cape, but I've been unable to find an accurate date for him. And I got him initially as a foil, as an opposite to a rendering of Batman from Dawn of Justice. So Batman versus Superman, which I later replaced with a version of Superman who looks much closer to the Frank Miller Dark Knight Returns Superman. So I don't need this guy, and I'm sure someone else will love him. It's a cool sculpt. I just don't have a place for him anymore, and that's part of this whole process. I think just accepting that and letting go. Next, we have a chair, and this chair is actually the captain's chair from the original series of Star Trek, with a little figure of Captain Kirk. I'm not that big a fan of William Shatner's Kirk. I don't need it in my life. This actually came with a communicator that I am a big fan of, and you'll see that on the shelf. It's still in the office, but this chair, I can take it or leave it, and I'm sure someone else will really love this, and maybe even have it on their desk. But for me, not today. Next, we have a glitter ball. It's a ball that actually, when you turn it on, when you plug it into USB-C, it agitates the glitter. It lights up, but it's really noisy, and so I couldn't have it on in the background when recording, and therefore I never really had it on because it was a hassle to turn on. It's irritatingly noisy, and then after a while it overheats and stops working, so someone else can have it. A foam football. Yep, don't need it. Don't know why I have it. Someone else will love it. Next we have a figure of Harley Quinn. Now, Harleen Quinzel, I actually got her from a shop in North Wales a few years ago, a collector's shop, a second-hand store, and it was filling a bit of a gap because I have a version of Joker from the animated series who I just thought needed a Harley next to him. I couldn't find the animated version of Harley, so this was as close as I could get. She's from obviously the Arkham universe, and she's not my favourite version of the character, and I'm sure someone else will love her. So I'm going to give her away, and hopefully she finds her place in the world. But just not quite for me. Here we have Obi-Wan Kenobi. Hello there, General Grievous. He is an okay version of the character, and he comes with Darth Vader as well, who is really interesting actually. You can take off Darth Vader's mask, and underneath you have Anakin Skywalker. His cloak comes off, and one of the key features is that this is a transforming figure from Anakin to Darth. So when you press the button on his arm, his lightsaber actually lights up blue. So obviously that's Anakin pre-transformation, especially with that shoulder armor off. But then when you put the helmet on him, and it's a little bit finicky to do while recording, but anyway, it goes on, and I really like the look of the top of the helmet. It's sort of film accurate there, which is quite cool. If someone wanted to, they could probably paint the metallic contacts and stuff. But anyway, it clicks on, and when on, his whole demeanor changes. There's a sound effect, and then when you press his arm this time, his lightsaber is red. I do like this figure. I less so like Obi-Wan. He's very rigid. His arms don't bend. His lightsaber, though, is bent. So he's just a bit rigid, and you can do basic things like maybe make him sit down or something. The lightsaber doesn't come out of his hand either, and his other hand is stuck in this pointing pose, which Ewan McGregor did develop for Obi-Wan as a starting point in dueling, but it looks more like he's pretending to shoot a gun in this figure. It's like a sort of pew pew kind of situation, and yeah, it's not great. But I'm sure someone else can find a place for him, especially along with Anakin/Darth Vader. So they can be fun, but I think I've had my time with them. Yeah. So those are the things I'm letting go of. I'm going to take them to a charity shop or swap them for credit at a local collector's store. And it's given me not only the physical space, but also actually the headspace to approach the shelves and really think about what I wanted from them. So the top shelf is still the most random of the shelves. There's a Thunderbird section with a Batman, Joker, resin 3D print, Kirby statue, companion cube, a Guy Fawkes mask, and then Captain Haddock and Snowy from Tintin. Next to a TARDIS center console and David Tennant's Doctor Who with 3D glasses. There's Timmy the sheep, along with the Tron's Light Cycle and Korra, Mr. Bump, a statuette of a figure from Vampire Hunter D, Buzz Lightyear, Beetlejuice, Horse Batman, yeah, and and a poster for Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis on Amiga. The second shelf, we have the Transforming Enterprise on its gooseneck. We have Salad Fingers in the background. I had to keep him. And then a formal, actual Spider-Man section. All metal Spider-Man figurines can go there. Each one is special to me for a different reason. There's an open-up play set. There's a couple of Green Goblins. There's Rupert the Bear, both in Lego and in Teddy form as well. Very dear to me. Transformers now are all in one place, with Soundwave in his box, because it's a 40th anniversary box. Obviously I'm going to open it up and play with him all the time, but crucial to me. Interestingly, Hot Rod is in the back there with another Transformer in the front. I'm going to have to, I think, swap that out and put Hot Rod on the front of the shelf, methinks. Yeah, I like this. It all sort of comes together and again just makes more sense. It's all in the same place. We have Megatron on the right in tank form, and then up on top of Blaster is Galvatron there. Yeah. Couple of random things. A Christmas edition pop box for Pringles, along with a couple of Bassett's Licorice All Sorts toy vans, and a Soundwave pop badge. Moving on to the bottom shelf, we now have Aliens versus Terminator versus Ripley, along with a little transformable burger from a 90s Happy Meal, and a tiny Ryu fighting figure that I was given when I met up with friends in York recently. There's a sculpted hand I made in high school, which is just in front of a couple of more aliens and the Predator. And then we have the Mighty Max section, which on the previous setup was just like a pile of play sets, and I couldn't really get at them or even really see them. So this makes much more sense to me. They need a bit of a dusting, but I'm happy with that. The Tetris lamp is much more visible. More pieces are lit up now as well. It's also much more stable. And next to that we have Brownie the bear. We have a little drawing of a pirate ship that I did, the bear that was with me in an incubator when I was born prematurely, a Jack Skellington, Metroid, Oogie Boogie, the Easter Bunny, and the Star Trek communicator, which used to sit next to the captain's chair and Captain Kirk. But actually, I just like this one. I love the way that it works so well. I love it. So all in all, I think a more sorted, less crowded, and more visually pleasing set of shelves. And so there you have it. The shelves are still crammed full of things that I love. It's still my head exploded all over the walls in a way that I find both inspiring and comfortable, actually. I love working in this office. I love being able to look around and pick something up and have a bit of a play with it and think about other things while I'm doing that. But crucially, things are now accessible. They are in a place that makes sense in terms of the context that they're in, and it doesn't feel so mountainous, so piled up, so cluttered that actually I end up not really investigating the shelves at all. And that's where I'd got to. I'd got to a place where I couldn't actually have a bit of a play with one of the Mighty Max sets, for example, because there was just a little mountain of them, and you had to go digging, and it was a bit dusty, and by the time you've done that, you actually have to go and get on with something else. So I strongly recommend, if not a spring clean, this is a bit more than a spring clean, certainly just taking time just to think about your things. Because I'm definitely always going to have things around me. In that sense, I'm not a minimalist. And I like the texture and the colour and the memories that are invoked by the things that I choose to surround myself with. But that's it, isn't it? It has to be a choice. It has to be the things that you choose to have around you. And that choice fundamentally has to be based on the joy that these things bring you, the accessibility of those things, and how those things make you feel. And now they make me feel happy. A few weeks ago, they were making me feel stressed. So hopefully this has been fun or enjoyable to watch, or maybe even useful to think about your collectible space. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, do take care. Bye bye.